would like to call to order the Tuesday, August 26, 2025 HRA Board meeting. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Any edits or changes? May I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Moved by Carter and second by Mua. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, we have to do roll call. So,
Chair Wooden? Sorry, Commissioner Wooden?
We're doing roll call votes, so everyone will read each commissioner's name and then they'll verbalize their vote because we have a commissioner remote. So that's what Mary is going to go through now.
Hello.
Chair Mueller?
yeah, so your roll call vote to approve the agenda? Okay. Oh, I didn't hear that. Okay. Aye.
Commissioner Wooden? Commissioner Wooden? Commissioner Wooden?
I think she is.
Commissioner Carter?
Aye.
Yes.
Commissioner
Hello,
Carter?
Commissioner. We're working on the audio here. This is Melissa, the city attorney.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Carter?
Oh, I think I said aye already.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
Oh, it's okay. I was quiet. So.
Commissioner Hukim?
Aye.
Commissioner Ise?
Aye.
And Commissioner Moa?
Aye.
All right, motion passes 6-0. Next item is the approval of the agenda. Well, I'm sorry, I'll wake up. Okay, it's the approval of the minutes, it was missing.
Or the consent. Yeah, we can just approve that all.
Oh, I didn't, okay.
Yes, it said my number that I tried to enter for the meeting number was incorrect for some reason. I don't know why.
All right, we were getting this figured out. I need a motion to approve the 2 consent items on the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Carter
Second.
and second by Commissioner Ise. All in favor? Well, we got to do the roll call.
Just, Sarah and commissioners, have you called the meeting to order and approve the agenda? Because you'll need to do that by
Yes.
roll call as well.
Yes,
did.
we have.
did.
I think they're struggling with the audio.
Mhm.
She says she can hear now.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Commissioner. Doblinger, or not Doblinger,
Wooten.
Commissioner Wooten.
yeah.
Okay, sorry about the confusion. Everyone can hear now? Melissa, you're online.
I
Commissioner
can
Wooten,
hear.
you're online?
Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Wooten.
We have called the meeting to order and done roll call votes. We approved the meeting agenda, and now we're moving into the consent agenda.
Okay, just one more thing, Commissioner Wooten, can you turn on your camera? You technically
trying to
need to
get-
have your camera on.
I'm trying to get into the meeting on my, off my phone, and it's
Okay.
telling me my meeting number or link is incorrect for some reason.
Okay,
I'm in WebEx, but that's what it's telling me.
okay.
Which you can try to send me another one, which is not a problem, fortunately.
And then are we recording this meeting?
Yes, we're being
Okay.
recorded.
I just don't see anything on this end that shows we're recording, so thank you.
Okay. Consent agenda.
So we need the roll call vote for the consent items. Oh, Mueller. I keep thinking you're saying moolah. I can't hear. Aye.
Turn your mic on.
Commissioner Wooten, aye.
Commissioner Doblinger is absent. Commissioner Carter.
Aye.
Commissioner Huhim.
Aye.
Commissioner Ise.
Aye.
And Commissioner Mua.
Aye.
Motion passes 6-0. Next up is organizational business. May we have the staff report?
Yes, could I get the presentation up?
I can't hear anything, unfortunately.
Okay, can you hear me now, Commissioner Wooten? And
I
see
hear
the
you,
screen?
but I don't hear the staff report.
Okay, yes, I'm getting started. So, good evening. Sorry about all of the logistic trouble we're having tonight, but I think we are on track now. So, I will be doing the presentation on item 4.1, which is the preliminary HRA budget and levy for 2026. All right, so this is, as we all know, is just the mission and values of the HRA. So this is something that the board and staff has spent a lot of time to define. The work of the HRA is divided in our work plan into these 5 general areas. There's, of course, general operations, but housing stability services, which include things like our the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which promotes people being in stable homes, homeownership pathways, which is creating education and other opportunities for people to proceed along their learning pathway into homeownership, housing creation, which would be housing development, and housing preservation, which usually often is referred to as like NOAA preservation or naturally occurring affordable housing, and trying to preserve the quality and dignity of housing stock in the city. And the HRA works in all of these different spaces through the funding that we have. Okay. Quick background. So as we all know, the HRA budget is it's about $10 to $11 million a year. It's comprised of many different funds and sources, and we'll get into what that looks like a little bit further down. We receive federal, state, regional grants. We receive also program and rental income from the properties that we own, and also from some loans for home improvement projects that are recycled. And then we also have the HRA levy, which comes from property taxes that are levied in the city. The levy maximum in 2026 is $3.2 million. This is a legislated maximum amount. And then this is just some historical background, or I guess not too historical, just from last year. So 2025 levy was at about 70% of the levy max last year, which was $1.9 million. And the 2025 total budget was just over $10 million. So the discussion tonight is to consider and approve a preliminary levy and budget. And just a reminder, the preliminary levy is preliminary. There will be a final budget approval later on down the road. This sets a maximum amount that the HRA can levy for the next year. So when we get to the final budget approvals, we cannot go over the amount that we set as the preliminary levy tonight. We can go under, however. which gets me into the proposed preliminary budget for 2026. When we were reviewing the budget and looking through the spending and the needs and the long-term strategy of the HRA, I had initially considered proposing a budget of $11.9 million, which was about a $1.6 million increase. And the increase is from a variety of different sources. We have some additional grants for next year, but a big portion of that increase was to maximize the levy up to that $3.2 million. And so after some discussions and consideration and kind of looking at costs and reviewing what's critical for next year, we were able to revise that request down into what is now the current request before you tonight. So the total budget proposal for 2026 is $11,388,110. And then the levy request is $2,769,133, or about $2.7 million. And then again, this just highlights the different sources that get us up to that $11.3 million. We have a pretty large amount of our operating budget is from federal grants, and then we have some other income that I mentioned earlier. This is a high-level overview, and I know you all see this every year. And so it just kind of goes through a historical comparison and calls out some of the major budget categories. Of course, this top line here, property taxes, shows the amount that the HRA levied in 2024, 2025, and the proposal for 2026. The next category on here is intergovernmental, so that would be like the federal money that we get. It would also include state money and other government grants. And then transfers from other funds usually refers to other grants as well. And because the HRA financing is complicated, there's a lot of transferring in between city and HRA accounts. And then expenditures, as is typical with we're actually a little bit atypical, because I was going to say what's typical with any budget is that staffing is one of the biggest expenses. In this case, staffing is a relatively small portion of the budget, which includes salaries and benefits. A large portion of the budget goes to the federal funding that we received for rent payments. So actually that materials, supplies, and services includes the housing choice voucher rent payments that we make on a monthly basis. And then you'll see also that transfers to other funds is that $500,000 a year that is held aside for opportunity housing projects, which gets us to our total. This is a chart showing the historical levy. So again, I know we all know, but just to reiterate, the HRA was levying up to the max prior to 2023. And 2023, the port instituted, in 2024, the Port Authority instituted a new levy. And so the HRA levy was decreased by the amount that the port levy was increased in order to have a net zero impact on the tax base. And so in 2025, we increased that a little bit. Now we're proposing in 2026 to increase that again. And I'll just cover, I know there's a lot of words on this slide, but a couple high-level cost efficiencies and reductions that we've been working on over the past year. Of course, we have collaboration with other departments and divisions. The HRA is embedded in the city, and so we work closely with a lot of other staff across different departments and divisions. We actually have a couple of shared staff positions, and really work within the system that we have. It creates a lot of efficiencies, and it makes it easier for us to manage the many different programs we have because we use the infrastructure of the city and the resources that we have already available to us. We also work hard to leverage other funds. So as I mentioned, the levy is a relatively small portion of the dollars. Some examples would be local affordable housing aid, Bring It Home. These are both state money that comes to the HRA. The local affordable housing aid was delegated to the HRA by the city council to administer. Bring It Home is a grant that was applied through the HRA. And so we're constantly looking for new grants and new streams of income that can support the HRA's programming. We also, in the last year, started to conduct property management in-house, which is an efficiency in that we are providing a much better level of service for the folks, the residents of our homes. And our property management team has gotten several praises and comments, and we're just happy to see that that change has resulted in such a better level of service. And we're also working hard on managing those costs. So as we all know, the HRA owns 42 single-family properties, and there are a significant costs associated with upkeep of those homes. So we're working hard to streamline contracts, bidding costs for services, making sure we have a competitive pool of applicants, expanding outreach to vendors, that type of thing, to make sure we're getting the best costs for products. Performing only necessary repairs to HRA owned properties is associated with that. We screen all of the repairs and all of the issues that tenants submit in order to make sure that we are being fiscally responsible and performing repairs to keep up a good quality standard of living, but also being mindful of our budget. We are also working on planning a capital improvement strategy. So if you remember last year, the HRA had a pretty significant investment into those HRA-owned homes. And we are working to plan out more long-term spending so that we don't have such a large amount fall on the levy in about 10 years or whenever other major improvements need to be made. We've also had, we have a very active loan program, and so various, we actually last year, just speaking to the success of that program, we received more requests than we had budget, and so we paused on the budget when needed in order to be able to utilize those funds and not go over budget. And then this slide breaks down some of the key reasons for the increase, the budget increase, which is about 10% for this for proposed for 2026. Property maintenance is a big one. The homes that we have were built primarily in the 60s and 70s, and they have some long-term needs there that we are working on really investing in to make sure that we have really great quality of living for folks in our homes. There's been renewed attention on this, and so we anticipate that this budget will cover the needs of those homes. Strategic partnerships, a lot of the work of the HRA is done through working with partners. We have a lot of different partners in the community, nonprofits, government partners, so many. And so we work with a lot of different contracts, and so this increase would allow us to be more effective in our partnering and go forward with some of the long-term partnerships that the HRA has been maintaining for the past 10 plus years. There are also some various cost increases, salaries. We have, with the number of grants that we've been receiving and we're able to leverage all those funds, we do have higher legal and financial consulting fees. Each of those requires different accounting systems, legal review, those types of questions. These cost increases are only about 1% of our budget. And then Bring It Home Administration, this is the large state grant. We will be receiving about $2.6 million over the next 2 years. And so there is a small amount that would be towards administering those funds. And then following, some of the questions around how can we make sure to not have too much of a jump this year in terms of the levy, we remove some of these long-term investments, so like investing in building up our Affordable Housing Trust Fund and building up our development fund balance to do some of those development projects. And then this is just, what does that do? So we're focusing on critical spending for 2026, and what are some of the things that might be more challenging to complete in 2026 if we remove those strategic funds? So funding for additional development projects, including some NOAA, naturally occurring affordable housing preservation projects, potential long-term debt service pays for some of the loans that we have been managing for a long time now. And then also the ability to respond to federal cuts or reductions. So I know this is a big concern of the board is what's going on with the federal budget. And I will say there's different budgets out there from the House and from the Senate and from the President. And so it's difficult to determine how that will turn out in the next month or so. But not having those additional strategic dollars will make it harder to respond if there are cuts or reductions in the federal budget. And then this is just a visual of the revenue sources. I won't spend a lot of time on this because I've talked about this extensively, but you can see the property taxes, that's the levy. It's less than a quarter of the total budget, a really significant portion of our budget. 65% is federal grants, and then we have various other revenue streams as well. And this is also a visual to show you kind of the different accounts and how that $11.3 million is projected to be spent. Some of these are through the HRA-owned homes. Some of these are through investing in the development fund for some of those strategic projects, a small amount. A lot of it is in the vouchers and the community development block grant, which are all federal dollars. And the community development block grant is our loan program. This is a summary so the previous slide was the whole budget, including all of our income. This narrows in on that 2.7 million proposed preliminary levy and demonstrates how that is divided among the different accounts. So you can see like rental homes would be HRA owned homes, general administration, development fund. Well, I'll talk about that in the next slide. There's a really small amount of the levy that goes to supporting the work in the vouchers, and the neighborhood fund is the HRA levy that goes to supporting the loan program. All right, and strategic investments. So development fund, I thought it would be, so many of the HRA has multiple different funds. They're all kind of restricted for different uses, and many of them don't carry a balance, and they don't have funds sitting there to invest in strategic projects, which, as we know, in housing, those projects are long-term and expensive. And so what fund do we have available to invest in those things? It's the development fund. And so here I've called out some of the investments that the HRA has made over the past 2 years, I would say. There's the Affordable Home Ownership Program to develop multiple single-family homes, or multiple different single-family home development projects in here, which is a big focus of the HRA. There's also the recent HIA loan that we issued, and then the Opportunity Housing Ordinance investments. And then the other fund that carries a small balance is the neighborhood fund, and most of this is recycled and is lent to the many partnerships that the HRA has to promote housing stability in the community. Okay, and with that, this is just a summary of the next steps. So tonight, the August 26th, is the preliminary budget and approval. Then the council is the final decision maker in the levy amount, and also accepts the preliminary budget from the HRA. So that is scheduled for September 8th. And then we do have some space for some additional discussions, and a final budget and levy recommendation will come to the HRA in November for final approval by the council in December. Which brings me to my final slide. I feel like I've been talking for a while, but the suggested motion is in front of you. As written with the resolution, it approves that levy of 2.7 million, approximately 2.7 million. The board could also direct staff to move forward and approve a preliminary levy of a different amount that you could verbalize. I included just a note that you could increase it to the max levy if you wanted to do that tonight, as an option on your slides. And that is it for my presentation.
All right. Time for questions, comments. Commissioner Carter?
Thank you, Chair. So I just have a comment. I just want to thank staff for listening to some of the feedback that I know individual commissioners have provided, and bringing the levy request down, just in recognition of a lot of challenges that we're facing in terms of trying to find ways to reduce the levies in general that we place on houses in the city. So I would say that I'm happy with this as a preliminary levy. I do have some concerns related to some of those kind of longer term strategic investments that we are not going to be funding. I do think, and I've shared this feedback with you already, that it would be good to have more conversation as a commission to start developing some priorities as we think about longer term needs, and so that then when we come on the annual basis to make these decisions, that we have kind of that longer range thinking and plan in place, so it's easier to make those decisions from our perspective. One question I do have is, I mean, we're getting the annual LAHA funding. Could that potentially be something that we could use if we do have federal funding cuts? And I don't think we've dedicated those funds to specific things other than the financial assistance to some of the residents at the Heights, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And we did do a general split where 50% of the funds go towards home ownership initiatives, 50% of the funds go towards development or redevelopment projects. We could also, if that split doesn't feel like it's meeting the needs of the moment, then the HRA and the council would also have to approve a change. But yes, we could potentially use those dollars.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that.
Commissioner Hukim?
Thank you, Chair. I want to thank staff as well for all their work in working through all the comments and feedback. I'm going to be honest, it's a tough position. I am very torn on this just in the fact of I struggle with setting us, as Commissioner Carter said, for the future. I'm going to be very blunt. In the past, I felt that the city of Bloomington hasn't set themselves up for the future, which is why we're kind of in a position we're at where we have buildings that are outdated, we have infrastructure that's outdated. And I don't want us to set up future boards here on the HRA in that same. Do I understand the struggle that we're in 100%, which is also an issue that I have, because if we don't have the funding, how can we help, the community if federal funding gets cut? The state doesn't have all the resources to do that and take that burden either. So I'm supportive, but I'm hesitant, and I just want to state my concerns on the fact that I just really want to set us up for the future and having those investment opportunities. So I think, we have to start having some serious conversations of our priorities and setting up the future of the HRA to be successful. That's, I think, one of the things that I think each and every one of us want to leave, when we do leave the board, is a good foundation for the future and for our community. So as I'm supportive, I just want to state that I'm hesitant in the fact of, once we set this, we can't go back. If we set it higher, we can go back. And I'm not saying that's the decision, but I'm just saying that setting it tonight, that is the highest we can go. So just making that clear and making sure that everybody understands that in the future we can go back up until the November, and we might have more information from the federal government at that time as well. But if we go with it tonight, that is the highest we can go. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Mua?
Thank you, Chair. Again, thank you to staff for hearing the concerns that the commission had and putting tangible work in. I think one of the problems that we have when we look at budgets just once a year is that we struggle then to see further. And so I'm looking forward to, as the city as a whole is shifting how the city does budgeting, seeing the HRA come along that path too, so we can have a broader scope of what's coming down the road, so that we can, when we come to these conversations, have a good understanding of, if we do this year, what does it mean for the out years? And we can plan together to understand what that's going to look like, to be able to react and respond to current situations. We'll continue to keep that long-term focus in mind. So I truly understand and appreciate the staff's willingness to continue to work with us. Given the current situation and our funding resources, I think we do a better job than most other places in finding grant funding, right? When we pay our state and federal taxes, those go off into the ether, and we don't know what happens to them. But when we get those grants back, that brings our tax dollars back to Bloomington, to where it matters for us. And so just want to continue to encourage staff to continue to seek those grant dollars, to bring our dollars, our Bloomington dollars, back to Bloomington. But I support the current proposal for the preliminary, and looking forward to seeing what else we can do. Thank you.
Commissioner Wooten, do you have question or comments?
No, I would probably concur with what Commissioner Huim stated. I think that's pretty eloquently stated. But I believe in the same issue.
Third that, I should say. Definitely. Thinking long term and whatnot, because you never want to be in that position where you're trying to fix what's broken as opposed to just maintaining it early on. I think that's kind of the idea I have as well.
I'll just comment. Initially, I was a little bit taken aback by the amount of the levy, but as I've done a lot more thinking and listening to staff and representatives of staff, I do have great concern for what will happen to our federal funding. I know it's not a large amount of our budget, but it's enough to make an impact, and I don't want anyone losing their housing because we can't fill in for what the federal is no longer providing. That is probably one of my biggest concerns. And then setting us up well for the future. So I agree that this levy is necessary and the amounts are necessary. So, Commissioner Carter?
Thank you. I just would like to clarify for those who have expressed some of the concerns, which I think we probably all share. Are you proposing then that we pass the full levy? Are you proposing that the preliminary that we're passing tonight be the full or the revised, the scaled back?
That's what I was going to ask the group.
Okay.
I didn't know if we would come with a consensus on that. If we need a motion specifying, the full amount, the reduced amount. So can we have some comments or something regarding the full amount versus the reduced amount? Commissioner Hukim?
Thank you, Chair. Again, I don't say anything that I'm saying lightly. I've thought a lot about this. This is such a tough. It's a place I don't like to be. It's a place I don't think anyone likes to be because it's a big unknown, right? It's a risk. Either way we decide, it's a risk, and that's just the way I see it. I personally would rather see, for me, I'd rather see us approve the higher amount because we can go backwards on that, than approve this and then it could just get lower is my fear. Whereas if we set it higher and let's say the council comes back with more things, we have a different number to work with. I don't know if that makes sense to others, but I'm a person, I'd rather start high and have that option to go down later on. It's not something we have to decide on that lower amount tonight. And I think that it offers some time for some more discussion at the same time. Because it is a big decision. And I understand it impacts taxpayers. We're all taxpayers sitting up here as well. But I also look at how much that this generally is in the big scheme of the tax dollars. And I also look at the need. And I look at the need that we've supplied in the future, in the past, and what we're looking to do in the future. And I look at, I don't know that I feel comfortable in case something happens on the federal level and we can't cover that. That's my biggest, I'm being very vulnerable and honest here, that's my biggest concern is I want to make sure we have that security blanket for our community. So that's my recommendation and how I feel.
Thank you. Any other comments, recommendations? Commissioner Mua?
Thank you, Chair. I'm in the camp of going with the lower proposed levy. I think it shows to the residents of Bloomington and the council and the city that we take our budgets very seriously, and we are prioritizing, just like everyone is doing at home right now, and having that forethought that we've thought about this, and we do have lofty goals and we do have things we want to do, but we understand that we can't do everything right now. And so going in with the lower one, showing that we've done the work and we're willing to do the work, helps us just better position the need that we have today, so that we can continue to do the work. And so that's where I'm at with the initial proposal.
Thank you. Commissioner Carter?
I do hear the concerns from my colleagues on the commission here. I tend to agree with Commissioner Mua on this. You know, I think everybody is having to make really hard decisions right now. And, you know, from the city staff to people in the community to organizations, nonprofits in the community, businesses in the community. And, you know, we often hear like, you know, they don't get the option to just increase a levy and have more money coming in the door, right? And so I just, as much as I would like to say like, yep, let's just go with the full, if we were in maybe a different economic and political circumstance right now, it's just really hard for me to do that. And I think that if it comes down to federal funding being impacted, then I think we have hard decisions to make. And it doesn't necessarily mean people lose their housing, but it might mean that we scale back on other things. Because just like every other organization, we have the like must do's, right? Like people staying in their homes. And then we have kind of the more like future forward, like the kind of nice to do stuff. And I mean, I guess maybe not nice to do, it's still critically important work, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
I am completely conflicted. It is very hard decision. I am afraid of the federal, but I think what you said, Commissioner Carter, struck me that if something happens with the federal, we have other places. No one's going to like to cut back, but maybe there are some other, excuse me, when I say cutting back, I mean maybe not investing as much into. But I'm also, so I get what that side is saying. I'm really concerned about not having enough to meet people's needs because of what the federal government might do. And last year we did pass a lower levy. And I don't know if this is the year to, I don't know if it's the years to go for the most or it's the year to you know, be a little more conservative. Yes, Commissioner Carter.
Yeah, you know, I guess I'll just maybe state the obvious that Commissioner Mua and I have like different perspectives, right? Because we're on the council, and I really appreciate the perspective that the rest of you bring, and I don't really think we need to get to consensus. I think that we should all everybody should really just vote the way they want to vote, and if we pass the full levy tonight, and that's what gets, you know, I think that's fine, because like you said, like it can come down, right? It can come down. And sometimes I do worry that having 2 council members on this commission, like kind of is like an over influence. And so I just really, although, you know, I have my opinion and Commissioner Hu has his opinion, like I feel like on this body, I feel like your opinion should weigh even more. And so I just wanted to just say that. So.
Can I make one last comment?
Yes.
Given the fact that, you know, if we pass the higher levy, we do have at least one more opportunity to cut back. And I was a person that probably was very passionate about, you know, this affecting taxpayers. I'd like to be able to see what we can come up with in the next couple of weeks if we pass the higher levy and determine at that point in time to cut back. Because what's happening at the state level is relates to funding and dollars that are coming from the feds for folks who are dealing with housing instability doesn't give me any courage that we're going to be able to come up with extra money from anywhere.
Thank you, Commissioner Wooten. Commissioner Hukim, did you have another comment? Or?
I don't.
Motion on the screen?
Yeah, can we? Yeah. So, Chair. Oh, it was just there. Sorry. I would like to put a motion forward to approve a resolution authorizing the preliminary levy, and I'm hoping I'm going to say this right, with the levy increase up to the maximum of $3,298,465 of a special benefit levy pursuant to Minnesota statutes section 469.033 subdivision 6 and approval of the preliminary budget for fiscal year 2026. Would that be correct?
I would second that.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Hukim and a second by Commissioner Wooten. Ready for a roll call vote?
Chair Mueller,
Aye.
Commissioner Wooten,
Aye.
Commissioner Doplinger is absent. Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Huhim,
Aye.
Commissioner Ise,
I'd like to oppose for the 2.7 million.
and Commissioner Moa.
No.
I'm sorry, was that a no? Okay, so the motion passes 4-2. All right, thank you. So are we moving into the, I lost a piece of paper here. All right, discussion items. We have the staff report.
I think it's on. Yep. Thank you, Chair, Commissioners. I'm here to give an update about St. Mark's and where we're at 8630 Xerxes. All right. So I'll briefly run down what we've already kind of talked about, but the key terms of the project. One, this is part of the Bloomington Affordable Homeownership Program, so these will be affordable to those making 80% AMI, their ownership projects. We're looking at 14 to 17 units. I think right now we're still at about 16 units was what we had before, and we're still kind of running with that. And part of the project, we'd have to construct a street because it's currently a church property, and we need to create that. There is a cell phone tower that we would work to remain access to that tower, continue to provide service. And then we had a purchase price of $800,000, but a little update here. The church is willing to reduce that by about $100,000 if we do kind of a legacy gift, we were calling it, to name the road after that. And we kind of brought that to council last night, and they were pretty much in support of that. So that'll likely happen. And here's just our sketch. Again, it might change a little bit with the cell phone tower and minimum lot sizes that we're working on, but again, we're trying to do a code complying plat here. But three 2-family homes, and the rest would be single family homes. And a little bit of update to our sources and uses. So again, we're still kind of estimating that 11.5 million total project costs. We started to explore some of our sources, and we had community development block grant identified, and just given some of the uncertainties and the complexity about using community development block grant, it kind of triggers all these extra federal requirements. We don't, at this time, think it's appropriate that we would use that and try and fill that with other sources. And we also had the local matching affordable housing trust fund. This was, I believe, from the state, and we applied for it, and we didn't receive the award. So unfortunately, that's not a source currently that we'll be able to tap into. So, a little bit impact to the budget, but not a huge part. We still are anticipating that the HRA would be filling a gap of about $2 to $3 million, but we'll continue to kind of pursue these other funding as well. Our timeline, I'll go into more detail of project updates, but broadly speaking, we're kind of doing the pre-development activities right now and making sure that the project is feasible. So we did do some community outreach. We had a meeting at the church, which was well attended. About 50 people or so were there. We got quite a lot of feedback, ranging from this is not appropriate for government to be working on to we are excited about new neighbors and we think this is a great fit. And then there were people kind of in the middle, especially those who neighbor the property. They were kind of curious, well, where are these houses going to be? Are they going to be right up on the property line? And no, they're going to be 60 feet away at least from your house. And traffic, of course, was a concern too, but again, won't add a ton of traffic to the neighborhoods. 16 homes, not a ton. And then water pressure actually came up, which was a little bit of a surprise, but our engineering was aware of that and working on some potential solutions that might actually coalesce well with this project, but we'll see. There's some site constraints too that we're dealing with to help with that. But it was good to have that input, and people got our contact information, and we have a Let's Talk Bloomington page where people can get more information. So we've gotten a few comments there as well that we're able to provide the information. So that was great. And as we get into more of the actual work happening, we'll be able to use those resources and again, continue to engage with those neighbors. But after we get through some of these pre-development work, hopefully next year we'll actually go to bid for constructing the street, select some developers, and maybe by the end of the year they'll maybe start construction on that, on some of the homes. And then the hope is in 2027, if we haven't already started construction, then we will hit the ground running and get those sold in 2027. So where we are with our pre-development work, currently we have a survey complete, and we are working with platting the property now, so the sketch of those lots that we're working on. Again, getting that final design nailed down and make sure we're meeting all the minimum lot sizes. That's currently in process. We just met last week with the surveyor. We just had our meeting with City Council last night about the comp plan amendment. So it is zoned R1, but it is guided quasi-public, so we needed to re-guide it for residential, and that passed council. And that was a big hurdle because if we didn't do that step, it kind of derails the rest of the project. With the code compliant plat coming, it makes it hard to deny that, knowing that the zoning's correct and the land use is correct. The plat, if it's code compliant, there's not a whole lot of discretion to not approve that. So that was a big step for us to get through. We've also completed some environmental site assessment of the property. They did a phase 1 and did not recommend a phase 2, and there were no issues that popped out that we really need to worry about. So that's good for a property of this age that was developed in the 50s. And then we've met quite a bit with different partners that we might work with. LISC was one of them. NEO partners we've engaged with. We've also been just meeting with all these different green builders and alternative construction methods. So we're really curious and interested, and lots of promises about how efficiencies happen, and maybe there's more cost up front, but if you do it in scale, it might be more efficient. So we're really exploring that and really interested, because part of the goal is to work with emerging developers, and we want them not to be able to build how we do houses in the past, but how we're going to build them in the future. So if this is the way construction's going, we want to get them the experience to do that. And then right now we've got an RFP in draft form that we'll be putting out soon for the road design and stormwater design. Engineering's kind of leading that up. That's their wheelhouse. But that'll be going out shortly. Part of that, we're talking about mass grading of the site too. So we're looking at hiring someone to do a mass grading for the site. And then we also have been talking about, once we own the property in October, we'll need to start thinking about demolishing the building. And one of the things that came up is, instead of demolishing, you can potentially deconstruct the building and reuse pieces. And we've had, Hennepin County actually has a program that they work with to kind of subsidize that and kind of encourage that practice. So we are exploring how that could work with our project. And I think I saw on Sarah's calendar maybe a visit tomorrow from one of the companies. So that will be great. If we can do that, it's a more sustainable way to do that. So not everything's going straight to a landfill. There might be opportunity to deconstruct. And that really has pros and cons. It can help decrease the cost. It might also raise the cost. So we do these walkthroughs to determine how much of the building is actually salvageable and how much would that cost and how much does that impact. So this initial step will get us a more clear idea of what the impacts will be. But our contingency period ends September 15th, so we have one more HRA meeting before then. So if something pops up that would derail the project, we have an opportunity then to kind of pull out of the project. But at this point, things are still indicating that this project will still work and that we should continue to move forward, and the community, for the most part, is in support of it. Once we close, end of October, the church has a final service sometime in October, and then we'll take ownership. Last day of October is the goal. So with that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I'm missing, Sarah.
No, I might just add that the church has been a really thoughtful and engaged partner. Like they put us in contact with the deconstruction folks, and they are really taking seriously rehoming and reusing as much as possible. And also just really appreciated the conversation at the council last night and the recognition that came out from the council about how it's a difficult decision to close a church and how they're invested in the community. And so I just wanted to acknowledge they've put a lot of time and thought and work and effort into this project as well.
Any questions from the board? No? Okay.
Trying to remember the agenda.
I think next is my update.
So administrator updates.
Yes, I just have a couple of updates, mostly related to the council meeting last night, actually, when we talked about the comp plan amendment that was passed. I also wanted to note that the Heights approval went through the council yesterday as well. And so that has achieved all of the final approvals it needs for not only for the slight increase in costs, but also for the bond sale and those approvals. And so we believe that they are ready to move forward with construction fairly quickly, so we're hoping to see construction on that project start soon. And just a quick note about the next meeting, we will be having a public hearing for one of our items. It's I don't know if you remember the Ralph lots on Humboldt, and so that's a partnership with Habitat for Humanity, so we'll be bringing the purchase agreement and development agreement to the next meeting, and it is a public hearing, so just wanted to note that. And I think that's it for my updates. And then we do have a closed session immediately following this, so we'll go to that item, and then we'll go to the staff presentation and kind of just give us a minute with the tech as usual when we get to that part.
Okay, so I didn't know if Kenny was saying something. I mean, Mike was saying something first.
Yeah, I'll do a little intro here.
Okay, our commissioner and our chair and administrator, are we ready to transition to the closed session?
No, Mike is going to do a brief intro.
Got it.
There we go. Yep, so we are here looking to close the session because we are talking about a purchase of 801211 Portland Avenue South. We're able to do this because of the state statute 13D.05 subdivision 3 that allows us to close that to have sensitive information regarding negotiation of that. So as we do that, we will have to do a motion to close the public hearing. Like Sarah had said, we will then take a little minute to kind of change over our tech and audio. And at that point, there are some additional steps we'll have to do at the beginning of that, similar to how we've did this the last time. But I just wanted to kind of give you a brief overview. And Melissa, as you heard overhead, our attorney will be able to assist with that as well.
So now may I have a motion to enter the closed session?
So moved.
Second?
Moved by Commissioner Hughiem, and seconded by Commissioner Carter. And so we need the roll call vote.
And just a clarification, Chair and members, I believe that you're actually acting to approve the resolution that's in the packet. That will go in, that will close the meeting formally. It's important to note that because it contains all the findings related to the purpose and the explanation for what you can do. And you, the body, has to make that motion. So that's why we put it all in a resolution for you.
Okay, so let's add to the motion to adopt a resolution directing the closure of a public meeting.
So moved.
Roll call vote.
I think she adjusted the motion though.
Okay, so we need a new motion.
Second, okay.
All right, so motion by Commissioner Hughiem, second by Commissioner Carter. Now we are ready for the roll call vote.
Chair Mueller,
Aye.
Commissioner Wooden,
Aye.
and Commissioner Doblinger is absent today. Commissioner Carter,
Aye.
Commissioner Hughiem,
Aye.
Commissioner Ise,
Aye.
and Commissioner Mua.
Aye.
Right, motion passes 6-0.
Give us a minute.
motion before anyone jump in with, and seconding? Because I need to read that sentence to authorize it. Okay, we are back. We are back from our closed session, back in open session. So right now we have a motion, or we need a motion to authorize and direct staff to take actions consistent with the discussion during the closed meeting. So I need a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hughim
Second.
and second by Commissioner Issei. Do we need a roll call vote, even though he's not here? Can I do all in favor?
I would do a roll call vote just so it's more clear on the record, because you've also, looks like you're down a member now.
Yes, okay.
Chair Mueller,
Aye.
Commissioner Commissioner Wooden stepped away, and Commissioner Doplinger is absent. Commissioner Carter is absent as well. Commissioner Hughim,
Aye.
Commissioner Issei,
Aye.
Commissioner Mua.
No.
All right, motion passes 3-1. All right, now we are at the end of our agenda, so may I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting, August 26, 2025?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Commissioner Issei and second by Mua. Still need the roll call vote? Nope. All right, all in favor? Aye. Motion passes 4-0.